Hello everyone, welcome back. Recently, I hit the big milestone, the 1 million subscriber mark, and I figured I would celebrate by telling you guys everything you ever wanted to know about being a YouTuber. These are the questions that you guys asked me on Instagram. This is the down and dirty truth. Let's get to it. All right, let's kick things off with my most and least favorite experiences with YouTube. It's hard to pinpoint just one, so let's do a bit of a list here. Best thing, YouTube has provided me with incredible opportunities and experiences that I don't think I ever would have had without it. For example, I'm here in LA for 10 days on a whim. I don't think I would be doing this if it weren't for YouTube. Worst thing, since I am so interconnected with this thing, when things aren't going well, it hits very personally and deep. Best thing, YouTube has allowed me to have a creative career carving my own path. Worst thing, it's very unpredictable and hard to plan a future around. Best thing, I am my own boss and very much do whatever I want. Worst thing, it feels like I can never take my foot off the gas. If I'm not working, nothing is happening, and I know what it's like to be right at the beginning. I know how hard I had to work to get here, and so the fear of losing it all definitely weighs heavily. Best thing, the friends and relationships I made through all this. Worst thing, the constant weight of the creative output. So say for example, I play in a band, then we're probably gonna write an album, then record an album, then go tour the album, and that's a cycle that can take up to years. Whereas for me, I'm gonna come up with a video idea on a Monday, and then by Friday, I wanna be done it, repeat every single week. Without question, the whole thing is a net positive, but it is the hardest job I've ever had while also being the best job I've ever had. Brad Lane, among many others, asks, how much do I make? There's a short answer here and there's a long answer. The short answer is that the amount of money that I put into my personal bank account every month isn't actually that much. It's comparable to a teacher, which isn't great because, in my opinion, teachers should be making way more money. The long answer is much more convoluted. So everything that is earned through YouTube and all the offshoots of it are under an incorporated business, which Samurai Jenny and myself take a modest salary from. How much the business makes every month greatly fluctuates, and the idea is that that pool of money will sustain me through my career and into retirement. There are some months that make 10 times as much as other months, and then there are some times where the whole thing is a net loss. Sometimes it's been trending downwards for a long period of time, and we start trying to adjust to that, only for things to shoot right back up with one video that does really well. It's so incredibly hard to predict what the future is a month from now, a year from now, 10 years from now. I'm just trying to make good financial decisions so that we can keep this thing going for as long as possible. Next up, this fellow wants to know how one might collab with me. When I'm thinking about a collaboration, I want it first and foremost to be fun and exciting for all the parties that are involved. I don't do a ton of them. I don't do them just for the sake of doing them. So they have to make sense in the greater spectrum of what I do here. It should also be mutually beneficial. We both should be walking away with something, whether that be sharing an audience, maybe it's something that only myself and the other person could do, or it's just a genuinely fun time. As far as reaching out to other people to collab with, the most success that I've had is finding the people that are in my peer group, the people that started YouTube channels around the same time, have channels that are similar sized. It's like your graduating class, you go through it together, you rise up together, and I found that this is very much a thing that happens throughout the music industry. If you're just trying to collab with someone or work with someone who is a fair bit farther than you are, then it's probably not going to work out. Instead, look for the people that will be in the same place as you. Naim3312 asks what kind of content I consume and has this changed since I started doing YouTube. There are kind of two ways that I consume YouTube. The first is what I'll call research and development, and that's when I'm gonna go and see what my fellow creators are up to, go to the trending page and try to spark an idea or find inspiration. And then when I'm consuming YouTube purely for pleasure, I watch very little musical content. I spend so much time doing the music YouTube thing that the last thing that I want to do when I'm not working is watch music videos like the stuff that I make. And this has really been how I've always consumed YouTube, because when I started doing this back in 2014, there wasn't nearly as much long form content. It was just music videos and clips of concerts and stuff like that. So to fill that role of traditional entertainment, I would just go and watch TV. Moving on, how much of my true personality do I cover up? I don't think anything is really covered up. I think what you see is just one side of who I am, and it's probably just a more refined version of that. I script out most of what I do because I don't have that thing where I can just talk freeform and improvise for the camera, and I edit out most of the ums and ahs. But if you were sitting here asking me this question, it would very much be like this. But remember, like, you guys mostly see me just by myself. When I'm with other people, I think I would probably be significantly more jovial and upbeat, which isn't necessarily reflected here. But if you were to watch those videos when I'm doing stuff with other people, like with Jenny or the shop dogs or whatever, I think you would see that side of me. This fellow asks, is it a struggle to separate my work from my home life? Very much so. Being self-employed and working from home, you kind of live in this consistent gray area when you're never working, but also kind of always working. I honestly couldn't even tell you how many hours I work because it's all mostly a mush. Yeah, sure, there are some times where I'm able to completely detach, but there are also times where most people wouldn't be thinking about work, where I'm fixated on some part of a video or something like that. Oh, this is a good one. What made me decide to commit to YouTube? It's a fairly long story, and I've told it before, so let me give you the Cole's notes here. I can honestly say that I've been committed to finding success in music in one way or another since the moment that I picked up guitar. And the first time that I ever saw anybody have any semblance of success was a dear friend in college who, his band had a massively viral video. And this was my roommate. This is like one of my dear friends. This is a guy that I played in a bunch of other bands with. And seeing him have all that success, it seemed just very attainable, because he wasn't this like mythical godlike figure who I didn't know. This was just my buddy Joel. And so over the years, I tried to find my way in the music industry through a number of different means. One of those things was a band, and the plan with this band was that we would make our own music and make these crazy music videos that would eventually catch viral success, following in the footsteps of my buddy's band. Now, it turns out that asking other people to buy into this kind of thing and put the time and effort into it that's required to get it off the ground is a tall order. And so I quickly realized that I just couldn't get my bandmates to invest in this thing as much as I think that I needed them to. So I decided to go and take these big, grand musical video ideas and do them on my own. I started doing these videos for Instagram. This was back when Instagram had a 15-second limit for their videos. But for the first time in my life, people started watching me who I wasn't related to, who I wasn't friends with. And I began to develop a small fan base, but a fan base nonetheless. The next obvious step was transitioning to YouTube, and I decided to pursue this thing as hard as I possibly could because I saw it as the best chance I had at succeeding in my original goal, which was a career in music. And honestly, it was what I thought would be my last stab at this whole music thing before I went on and tried something else. So to answer the original question, I would say that I was 100% committed to seeing this through from the day that I started my YouTube channel, which would have been like October 2014. Yeah, and this guy simply wants to know, is it fun? Elements are quite fun, but other elements are not. So take this video, for example. Going through the questions that people ask me and jotting down some answers to them, that was pretty fun. Sitting here for what will likely be 3 hours or so, reciting my script, praying that this cloud that's blowing through isn't gonna ruin everything and I have to reshoot it. Yeah, this is not the most fun aspect of it. And then when I go and edit everything down and then cut out all of the questions on Instagram and make sure all the levels are right and all that stuff, also not the most fun. Whereas the videos where I'm playing a lot of guitar, doing some dumb experiment, getting creative with the edits, animating things, seeing everything come together, like that would be a fair bit of fun to me. All in all, I would say that everything is very rewarding, but there are elements that are quite fun, but also elements that are very, very much a job. Interactive Cactus wants to know what video blew up for me so that I knew I was onto something. It's very much come in waves. There was no one video that blew up for me, that put me on the map, and then everything was clear sailing afterwards. But the one where I was like, okay, I really am onto something was, I think it was my third video, and it's the one where I played the Blue Oyster Cult classic, Don't Fear the Reaper, entirely on iPad apps. That was the first one that got more than 1,000 views. I think it got a couple 100,000 views as it went to the top of Reddit, and that was within a couple months of even starting my YouTube channel. So at that point, I had never seen anything remotely compared to this level of recognition. This video reaffirmed to me that I was doing something right, I was onto something, and the fact that it happened so early was kind of like an initial motivational burst that just helped me right out of the gates. Jack Bowman asks, how do sponsorships work? You know, it's really quite simple. An interested brand will email my manager saying that they want to work together, and I'm by nature very picky about the brands that I work with. I want to make sure that it's something that I actually believe in. But if it's a good fit, my manager will then email them the rates, they'll send over a contract, as well as any talking points or products that they want me to advertise. I'll shoot the video, maybe send a video back to them to make sure that they're all good with it. I will then release the video, send them an invoice, and that will be that. Hopefully they come back for future videos. Migo Satar asks what I do about hate comments. At this point, I probably won't even come across them. There are just so many comments that happen here, I can't possibly read them all. The ones that I do read are usually the top comments, which typically speaking are quite positive, unless I really screwed up. Usually people here are super cool, and I think I'm fortunate that I've fostered a very positive, wonderful community. So in the off chance that I do come across a straight up hater, honestly, I don't care. I've been doing this for 8 years. There have been plenty of haters over the years. So I know it comes with the territory, and typically the things that people would hate on are just things that are just so trivial to me that I'm not emotionally invested in it. The times it would bother me would be like if it was something that I was already self-conscious about. So say I played a guitar solo that I thought wasn't very good to begin with, and then somebody was hating on that. Yeah, okay, that might hit a chord with me. Or if there was, say, like a strange influx of a lot of hate that came here, which was totally unexpected, yeah, that hasn't happened, but that would be fairly concerning. Or say it was something that was just blatantly false that was causing the hate, that would get to me. Or say I was doing a video with somebody else and the hate was directed to them, yeah, like that would get to me as well, and that would bother me. But if someone doesn't like, I don't know, the way I look and really felt the need to express that, you know, if that's your outlet in life, power to you. Sometimes I don't like the way I look either. Most of the time I do, but you know what? What the fuck are you gonna do about it? GuestTunes wants to know how I find time to do this. You gotta remember that this is my job, right? So that 8-9 hours that most people would spend working, I'm putting into this plus more. Those additional hours often come at the expense of social stuff or sleep, though I do my best to try to keep that in check. But for the first couple years of doing YouTube, I was putting full-time hours into this without making any real money. And I was able to do that because my parents offered that support system that allowed me to get where I am now. I don't think that I had a ton of lucky breaks in my career, but I consider their support and having that available to be the one big lucky thing that happened in my life. If I was trying to launch a career in YouTube while having a family and a full-time job and real responsibilities, it would have been so much harder to do so. I'm not even sure it would have been possible, and I would have been banking on some sort of lucky break or something. And I say all this because I don't ever want anybody to point to me and be like, Sammy G, he's a rags to riches story. All you need to do in this world is just work hard and you'll get to where he is. No, the deck is stacked drastically against most people. I had a golden ticket in many ways. I did what I could to capitalize on that opportunity, but that's just not the case for most people. And it's also why I'm a big proponent of social systems that give more people the same kind of opportunity that I had. Moving on, Avenged Not asks what the guitar YouTube community is like. It's quite diverse, and with that comes a wide range of people, and whenever you get a wide range of people, there are naturally some people that you click with and some people that you don't click with as much. The people in this world that I have clicked with, I will say are genuinely some of my favorite people that I've ever met, and I suspect a lot of these people are people that you've watched fairly regularly as well. How much time do I put into a video? There's quite a bit of a range. I try to average a work week or so per video, which allows me to get a video out every week. But a video like, say, the gimmicky guitar gadget stuff, where there's lots of examples and elaborate performances and animations and editing and stuff like that, that will usually take a work week plus the weekend and a few days on either end. A video like this one is going to be a lot less time. I think I spent 6 hours on the script going through the questions and polishing everything off and making sure I had something intelligent to say to you guys, then maybe an hour to set everything up. 2-3 hours to shoot, and then, I don't know, maybe 4 hours to edit everything down and make it look nice. The X factor is, well, if something goes drastically awry, shooting outside always makes me worry about the audio, so hopefully it's okay. The other thing is the thumbnail. If the thumbnail isn't going well, that can take hours upon hours of just tweaking one little thing at a time before I'm comfortable with it. Other times, like with this video, I just have an idea in my head and it takes 5 minutes to pull it together. Luca Stefan asks if there were any guitar YouTubers when I started. I mentioned this before, but the way that I remember it, everything was very much performance-based or purely informative. You wouldn't get long-form videos like this one or edutainment stuff like you see now. So the two, I guess, kind of like proto-guitar YouTubers that I remember looking up to and following were Rob Scallon, who still crushes it today, as well as Mystery Guitar Man. Next up, this fellow asks what YouTuber I would most like to collab with. My dream collab, at least right now, would be Guga Foods. He does a whole bunch of food type experiments on YouTube, and then he like presents these experiments to, I guess, like they're his nephews or cousins or whatever, and everybody gets to taste them and comment on what they think about them. I don't know that it would be the most natural crossover, as like, what do I have to do with food? But I would just love to be one of those guys who gets to taste his amazing steaks. Yeah, that would be my idea of a good time. This one came up a lot. Many people were curious about how I come up with ideas. This might be the most challenging thing that I deal with, but I think over the 8 years of doing this, I've just kind of trained my brain to have a radar for ideas so that when I'm going through the world, I'm always passively ready to pick up any idea that might come flying by my head. But besides this, I have a couple techniques that I can fall back on if things aren't necessarily flowing. I have a long list of video ideas that I can always go to. There are a number of videos that I've turned into a full-on series, like the gimmicky guitar gadgets, the world's weirdest guitars, the HUFO stuff, and being able to stretch those ideas out into multiple videos makes things substantially easier. I'll also check out other channels, typically not musical channels, but other channels and the trending page and see if there's any ideas over there that I can use and put my own spin on. Like, for example, the testing out TikTok guitar hacks that I did the other day. I was on the trending page and I saw somebody trying out TikTok cooking hacks or something, and it was easy enough to transfer that idea to what I do. And also, sometimes I'll just ask Jenny if she has any ideas, because since she doesn't think about this whole thing in the same way that I do, she'll often come up with things that I never would. MIDI Controller asks, how do I stay motivated and stay out of creative ruts? I will tell you, if this is something that you're dealing with, this is absolutely not something that is unique to you. This is something that I think every single creative person deals with on an ongoing basis. Trying to do something different, I find it to be very helpful, even though this hasn't been the easiest thing to do over the last couple of years. But for example, like the event that I'm putting on in San Diego, that has got me so excited in ways that I wouldn't normally be feeling if I was just typically doing the same thing over and over again. Trying to do different video ideas that I've never done before that I think will also make sense in the greater scheme of what I do and that my audience will enjoy. Yeah, that kind of thing gets me excited. And even when I'm not necessarily super excited about one thing, a lot of the time just like doing it, getting the ball rolling, will get me to a point where I am excited about it, and I will find that fulfillment by just getting over that initial hurdle of getting things going. There's no easy answer. I find comfort in knowing that it's not just me struggling with this, it's most of us. There's nothing wrong with you, and sometimes maybe the best thing that you can do is just take a breath, step away, and let yourself recharge. Mario Carrero asks if I realize that I am a famous guitar player. This is a weird one because I don't really think that I'm a famous guitar player, but rather I am a little bit famous amongst guitar players, which is a niche market to begin with. It's not like I'm Slash or Jimmy Page or somebody that everyone knows. Like, I can live my life, right? However, if I go to a guitar store, it's usually the case that someone's gonna wanna come up and say hi and do a selfie or that kind of thing. And it's just hard to conceptualize the whole thing because, yeah, from an intellectual level, I know that over 100 million people have watched my videos and over 1 million people have subscribed, which is a crazy number. And if I were to have gone on tour and played for 100 million people, I would have felt the impact of that and like interacted with that crowd in a way that you don't get when you just put out a video and you see the number on the screen go up. But really, I don't see myself drastically different than when I started my YouTube channel. Most of my friends don't treat me differently, and I've known them for years. I think of myself as just a guy with a weird job, not this famous guitar YouTuber or anything like that. And that's probably for the better. And last for today, Panchius asks if I feel like I reached my goal. Yeah. The two goals I had when I started this YouTube channel were, one, to turn this into a full-time income, which I did quite a long time ago. And then the other statistical goal was to hit the 1 million subscriber mark, which happened fairly recently. But the weird thing is when you hit that goal, nothing really changes. YouTube sends you a plaque, which is cool, and a lot of people congratulate you, which is also cool. But I compare it to like saving up $100, but you're not saving it up to buy something. You're saving it up for the sake of saving it up. And you start with 1 penny and then you get to $1, and that $100 mark seems so far away that it's going to be impossible to get to. But then you hit $20, then you hit 30 and 40, and by the time you hit $90, you're pretty sure that it's eventually going to happen. And then you get to that $100 mark and you take all your coins and you go to the bank and you trade it in for a $100 bill and you stick that $100 bill in your wallet and you say, yeah, that's cool, but I don't really feel any different. I mean, sure, there is a sense of accomplishment for hitting that, and every now and then I try to step back and embrace that, but nothing really changes. The only difference now is that I don't even pay attention to the subscriber count at all anymore, whereas before I was always trying to figure out how far away is that 1 million mark? Am I actually going to hit it? But now I just don't even look. And I think that's a fair bit healthier. I think now my goal is just to keep this whole thing rolling for as long as I can, while also maintaining a sense of happiness and accomplishment with it, while also trying to minimize some of the things that are unhealthy or I don't like as much with the whole YouTube experience. But yeah, every now and then I do try to take a moment and say to myself, I've accomplished a lot with this YouTube channel. I've hit some of those goals that are really, really hard to get to, and I feel like I should be proud of that. So with that, I want to take a second to thank every single person who's ever been involved in any way with this whole thing, from the guy who has watched one video to the person who subscribed in the early days and has watched every single video and always leaves comments. I never would have had these opportunities without people like you, and it's not lost on me how incredible this is, how fortunate of a situation I'm in. And I guess I just want to let you know that how grateful I am to have you guys watch these videos and have this amazing community. So thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Those are the questions that you had about YouTube, and those are my answers. Remember, if you're interested in coming out to the Samurai Guitar Summit that's happening in October in San Diego, early bird pricing is still available, and you can find more information at samuraiguitarsummit.com, and there's also links, as always, in the description. Thank you all for watching. If you want to check out another video like this one, hit that link up there. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, and stay tuned for a wide range of music-related content. Until next time, look after yourselves, look after each other, look after the planet. I'm Samurai Guitarist, and I'll see you again soon.